Good day. This is Elder D.T. Stanley, interim pastor for Harvest Time Worship Center. And this week I was reading the parable about the Good Samaritan, Luke 10:30 through 27. And in reading this parable, I realized that there are three times in Scripture that the Samaritan is presented. Jesus and the disciples visit a Samaritan village in Luke 9, Jesus talking to a Samaritan woman in John, the 4th chapter, and the parable of the Good Samaritan in Luke 10. So as I looked at this parable, began to recognize the values in this story. One being, many who aspire to go into ministry see glamour, prestige, and maybe even a career with money, but often don't realize that to be a minister, one has to be a real person. This parable reveals the hypocrisy of the day, and that the people we expect to be the good guys can be the bad guys, and vice versa. This parable is also about pride and prejudice. It refers to many prejudices: social, racial, sexual, cultural, and theological prejudices, all still relevant and revealing to us today in this hour, just like the young teacher who tested Jesus. Many times people today get upset and reject the truth when the good guy is not who they want to be the hero, and the bad guy is not the one they would accept being the villain. Another value, the parable reveals that our neighbor is not simply the person next door across the street from us, but a person who can be quite different from us and out of a very different, if not distant, community. The parable is also about love and not about law. It shows that those who live by the written law, or rules, or ordinances, or directions from an authority can be very cold and lose the value of compassion and humanity. The parable is about risk taking. What? If you love, if you love people, if you love God's people, love takes risks. What? And this is where I was halted and found a mirror to myself in Scripture, which I'm told is a good thing if you can find yourself in Scripture, but a bad thing if you can't. Anyway, you see, this traveler took a serious risk to his own life and safety in such a dangerous place of travel, which I understand is still quite as dangerous in this day and time. He allowed himself to become vulnerable in a place he knew was dangerous. This could have been a trap. The robbers could still be around, even watching. Or while he tended the victim, other robbers could have arrived and made him victim number two. You see, long before I got to Minister R.T. Kendall's point regarding love takes risks, uh, note and hint to singles out there, love takes risks. Anyway, subject for another time. Um, Before coming to R.T. Kendall's point of love takes risks, I was thinking how today, if that happened to me, how could I keep myself and my wife safe? Let me see. Maybe I'd blow the horn for a long time before getting out of the car to check the body. Or maybe I'd take a cell phone picture and send it before I helped, Maybe I'd forward it to the cops or some friend. Or maybe I'd call the police and just sit in the car at a distance and wait for them to arrive. Or maybe, yeah, maybe I'd have my wife slide over into the driver's seat and put the car in reverse with her foot on the brake. She'd be ready to jet backwards if something went wrong or something happened. I'd run, drive, I'd run, dive onto the car hood, and hang on for dear life till she got a good distance away. Then I'd jump in the car and we'd go speeding off. You know, some TV movie action or something. Anyway, I tried to consider any sort of scenario that might help me somehow keep myself and my wife safe. But anyway, Reverend Candle identified how the Samaritan accepted the inconvenience and the risk, which the Levite and the priest avoided. And it sounds like I would have avoided too. And the Samaritan likely trusted God and did what was in his spirit, what he had been taught through the Torah, and what was simply the right thing to do. Reverend Kendall stated how some of us make a half-hearted attempt to emulate godly concern. He made me think of how godly and holy I can be, as long as it's not inconvenient, as long as it doesn't cost me anything. Oops. The Samaritan accepted inconvenience, took a risk, showed pity and compassion, the real kind of compassion, to the point of even spending his money and establishing a debt for the cause. Jesus quoted Hosea 6:6 twice in Matthew 9:13 and in Matthew 12:7, saying, I desire mercy, not sacrifice. This is what is also seen in this parable: mercy. Some scholars say that the Samaritan paid the innkeeper for 24 days up front to allow the injured man to recover, then promised to come back again to pay for whatever that does not cover after the fact. It seems to me God might not be so pleased with my cunning, caution, and calculating ways if I had the same opportunity. I'm now concerned that I may have been the Levite or the priest. I remember a time years ago when I gave money to a homeless person, how coworkers, even a supervisor, scolded me saying, you don't know how he's going to use that money. He is probably going to use it for drugs. I said, that's not my responsibility. I'm giving it for food. I'll let God do the rest. Well, maybe I didn't say the God part, the last sentence, but I did feel it. Anyway, disregarding those good actions at that time, I am well aware that in such a scenario as illustrated in this parable, this interim pastor may not have been the hero as I might like to think. This makes me very uncomfortable and makes me search myself with no excuses. I can't just pray and not act. I must not look for ways to avoid responsibility when dropped right in front of me. I must not look for reasons not to get involved, but reasons to be used by God, trusting Him. Just like with everything, including dating today, one doesn't find love without taking a risk, which is different from gambling. Is it also true that one does not find God, His purpose, vision, blessings without taking a risk? I think we need to pray about that and about whether we are the Good Samaritan, the Levite, or the priest. God bless.